Uploading. Starting the stream. We are starting the stream. Oh, I don't know if you noticed, I put myself on the right-hand corner. You're up on the left over there.
Oh, so I got to look down and to the left now?
And I have to look this way. The opposite of the way I really would like to. But, oh, hey, we are live. Welcome, everybody, to Fatherly Fandom. It's Sunday. It's our Sunday morning show. Dad needs a lot of coffee right now, so we're going to sip it up. So welcome, everybody. We're going to be talking about some of the things that we watched this weekend and what we think you guys should be watching this week. It's Dragonball Superhero, The Sandman, and for our Silver Screen Sunday, what are we watching, Matt?
Shaun of the Dead.
All right.
It's now classic 2004. Can't imagine calling movies that came out in 2004 classic, but that's what it is now. So we're going to be viewing that, talking about a whole lot of stuff that you all can enjoy out there this week. So
all right,
let's cut to it.
Let's get started. All right, intro done. So let's get started.
Sweet.
All right, how's your weekend been, Matt?
And it's been an awesome weekend. So aside from the stuff that we're going to talk about today, I took your advice, checked out Light and Magic, started watching that actually with the kids, and they were intrigued. Yeah, by all as Sawyer just blew up like, oh, that's how they make the giant people and stuff, and all the techniques that they learned as kids to emulate Harryhausen. If you haven't seen it, and we're not going to get into it huge in this episode, but we really should do an episode on this show.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's awesome, and it's entertaining for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Get to see everything that like Phil Tippett does with stop motion in the beginning, and his whole story, and all those guys. It's so awesome to get to see them showcased on that show. Oh, you're getting smaller. You're smaller in your little video.
Am I?
Yeah, he's a teeny Matt now. So I don't know what's going on. I think the connection might be low or something. I don't know. You just got small.
It shrunk.
It shrunk.
We just had to start talking about
teeny
Harryhausen, and
there you go. Now Chris is the big
and
monster.
all those effects.
And you know what'll
yeah.
you know what'll happen, guys? if I adjust the size of this video right now, it'll get bigger again. I don't know what's going on. I think the bandwidth must be low or something. So, you kind of got a little bit bigger. Here we go. Let's see if he gets all the way up, guys. Let's see if it happens. Are you gonna what? Okay, let's see.
I'm Ant-Man over here.
Yeah. So during the show, guys, Matt's gonna be going large and small, just like Ant-Man. He's a superhero. I don't know if you know this, but. I mean, it does say Superman on his shirt, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm wearing the wrong uniform today.
Definitely. So let's get started with Dragonball Superhero. All right, so I got the chance to go see this on Friday with the kids. I was wearing my Goku shirt and everything, and pretty much you could tell throughout the going through the concession stand who was going to see this movie. Everybody had their Dragon Ball shirts on. And Olivia was pointing out everybody. I was like, Dad, look, he's got a Dragon Ball. And it was basically all the same demographic, too. It was like mid-30s, early, 40s guys. Bunch of guys going to see this cartoon. So we did get to go see it. And I was blown away with this show. I was absolutely... It was fantastic. The kids had a phenomenal time. We'll just say it like right off the bat. I asked them right away after we got out of the movie theater. I was like, kids, if you were to give this a rating, what would you guys give this? And Olivia was like, 10 out of 10. I'll give it a 10 out of 10. I'm like, wow, that's high praise. And then JJ was like, 100 out of 10. And I was like, dude, I'm out of 10. What would you get? Is that so 10 out of 10? That's what you give it. I was like, no, Dad. 100 out of 10. That's what I'm going to give it. So I'm like, woof. So this is definitely one. Oh, now Matt is a Skype symbol. Oh, there he goes. He's back. So both the kids absolutely enjoyed it. I really really did enjoy it. It looks like the audience for this is really enjoying it as well. It's got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. What's really awesome too
Okay.
is I just found this out today is it actually broke a 23-year-old record for best opening of a Japanese animation. And before it was Pokemon the movie, and that made over $10.1 million. So Dragon Ball Super
Whoa.
Superhero surpassed it. So we were sitting at 10.8 million for the opening weekend here in the U.S. So it has outperformed Pokemon.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, I mean, you were just talking about how marketing for this hasn't been that robust over here in the
Right.
States, and still on record way. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and so for like it seems like it's just word of mouth. People are excited about it. The true fans that are out there are really into this, and I feel like
Hmm.
Dragon Ball is starting to slowly come back. We had the series Dragon Ball Super come out a few years ago, and then it got off the air and everything. But now I think that people are getting excited. They're reading the mangas. They're excited to see what
Yeah.
comes up next. So there's definitely some energies and buzz being made, and there's talk of a new series coming out, more movies as well. So this is a good sign for all of us, especially here in the U.S. Like I love that it's getting attention. I love that people are getting into it and getting excited about it. I love that I'm sharing it with my kids. I love that, yeah, it's breaking box office records, even though it wasn't marketed very well. And that's all word of mouth. And if you are a fan of anime or anything like that, guys, you should definitely check this out. It was directed by Tatsuro Kodama, and it was written by Akira Toriyama, Sensei Akira Toriyama. He's the guy who originally wrote Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and has been a contributor on Dragon Ball Super as well. And the story actually takes place farther in the future. They set it farther in the future. It actually takes place, if you are reading the manga, it takes place after the Granola arc, which is the current arc that they just finished up this month. And if you guys have read that, oh man, there's some exciting stuff in there and fun things that we'll have for the future. The mangas have taken us way past the events of the Tournament of Power, which is where the show ended. And so this movie in itself, this one right up here, takes place even farther in the future, which is really cool. One of the things I absolutely loved about it is it doesn't focus as much on Goku or Vegeta, which seems to be the central focus for the show and all the other mangas and things like that. Oh, I think we got you. Oh, he's Tiny Matt again. So if you're in the comments, let us know how many times Matt turns tiny on us. So you still there, buddy? Oh yeah.
This
Ten,
hand's. I'm not even. I have no idea how I'm shrinking in large.
yeah, I know. Maybe lots of people are using the internet right now. I mean, it's Sunday morning, so maybe that. What
Yeah.
else do we have to do? We're drinking coffee, surfing the net, and whatnot. So here it is. Technical
Cheers.
difficulties aside, guys. Ooh, I love the mug. It's so awesome.
Oh yeah, my space mug. So
Wow, that is so cool.
sweet.
Pretty sweet. So I love the fact that this movie is centering its attention on Piccolo and Gohan. Originally, it was supposed to be all about Piccolo. This was going to be Piccolo's time to shine, and you can definitely tell that because he is very much a huge portion of the movie is centered on Piccolo and what he's doing, and then it was suggested that Akira actually include Gohan in the movie as well because from the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, we've always had this idea that Gohan had this intense superpower within him, and they explored it a little bit. We got to see that during the Cell Saga of Dragon Ball Z. When he became Super Saiyan 2, the first one to actually achieve that level of power. But then after that, he kind of dropped off. He became a side character. We saw a little bit more of a resurgence with Gohan during the Tournament of Power, but still, he hasn't had a moment to shine. And finally, we're getting to see this character
Hmm.
shine in this show, and it was just the action and how they did the animation was beautifully done. I really do hope that this is the style that they develop for the next TV series that they use. It's a combination of CGI, three-dimensional anime on top of like two-dimensional animation. looks really cool, gives you certain angles and ways that they can do action that they haven't been able to do before. And this is a beautiful thing about Dragon Ball is like they have constantly updated and improved upon the different types of animation that they had. The original Dragon Ball had its own sort of animation. Dragon Ball Z kind of upgraded and had its own form, which a lot of the fans really like. And they wish that Dragon Ball Super looked like Dragon Ball Z. I kind of like all the styles. I like that they play with it. I like that they switch it up as much as they can and try new things. That's what it's all about. That's what we want to see. We want to see them try new stuff out to make this look as awesome as possible. And I really did enjoy it. Just seeing Gohan all out there in that movie was amazing. So I did watch the dub. There you can actually watch. There's two versions out there in the theaters right now. You can watch subtitles with the original actors from Japan voicing the characters, or you can watch the dub with the English actors that are voicing it. And that's the one I love because I grew up on these characters. Chris Sabat, he's the one that does Piccolo. He does Vegeta. So he's gotten a main role in this. Hey, Chris, gotta hand it. Thank you, Chris. Just another fantastic person out there that does a role. Superheroes, animation, whatever you might do, hire a Chris and you'll get the job done. So Chris Sav is awesome. I actually watched this YouTube video Funimation produced where he has a young daughter and everything, and so he had a series of pictures of the story of Dragon Ball and he was going through it with his daughter and everything, and it was so cute and like she was able to tell him things, and it was just adorable just seeing he's another dad like us, so hats off to you, Dad. Chris Sabat, you did an amazing job with this voiceover for this role of Piccolo. Absolutely. And Vegeta and Goku did show up for a little bit of the movie, but they were definitely side characters. They weren't the main focus. So Chris got to play that part again alongside Shaun Schemmel, who is the guy who does Goku. Fantastic guy. And if you guys want to listen to an awesome interview, there's one from Geekdom 101. He interviews Shaun Schemmel. It's a two-parter. It is amazing. I'll try to link it in the comments or in our description down below after the video and everything. But it is amazing getting to hear a Shaun Schemmel about his life and his story and how he got to play Goku. There was a Canadian cast that was actually hired for like the first couple of seasons of Dragon Ball when it was first starting out, when it was first coming on the channel on Toonami. I don't know if you guys remember that. Did you ever watch that, Matt? Toonami?
No, never did. Well, and that's kind of. I'll let you finish, but I had a question for you.
Sure. So there was a Canadian cast, and they eventually got recast and everything down in Texas. So they moved the production down to Texas, save money, whatnot. So this is where the main cast that we know today, Chris Sabat, Shaun Schemmel, got their start and everything. And the guys that we know the most about, the guys that we're used to. And they actually had to base their auditions and their voices off of these Canadian cast members. But they did a phenomenal job. Gohan was played by Kyle Hebert on this one. Goku, like I said, was Shaun Schemmel. Pan, which is Gohan's little daughter, she's a little bit older, and it was so cute getting this. Like, the kids absolutely loved Pan in this, and she was training with Piccolo, and it was a lot of fun to get to see that. There's just a lot of little fun moments in this movie. She's played by Jenny Torado, and then some of our antagonists, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. Gamma 1 was played by Alex Lay, and Gamma 2 is played by, I think it's, there's a character in Dragon Ball called Zeno. So I want to say Zeno, but maybe it's Zeno, I don't know. Zeno Robinson. And Dr. Hedo, which was the other antagonist, he was the guy that creates these androids, this young doctor, was played by Zach Aguilar. And they all did an amazing job. I absolutely loved it. I loved that work. Again, like I said, with Pan, it was awesome. Uh-oh. I think technical difficulties here. I got a beep. You're beeping.
I'm beeping?
Oh, it says poor connection. Why is it going to switch to audio only? It says a poor connection on the Skype for some reason. Say something, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I can still hear you. Everything looks and sounds good on my end.
Perfect. oh, this is a live show, guys, so you get to see all the little technical difficulties. And if you probably saw them on Friday's episode too, sometimes it's going to happen. You know this is real. We're two dads producing this stuff, trying to get this to you. But overall, I very much enjoyed the story. One of the things I didn't like about the film was, we typically have these big bads that continue to power up and power up and power up, and it just becomes I'm almost getting sick of the power-ups and the transformations. I kind of want to see them go in a different direction with this show, to where they focus on like techniques and other things besides just coming to a new power level. I don't know how I feel too about in this show. If you don't know, there's these Dragon Balls, and they make wishes with these Dragon Balls, and Piccolo in this show wished for a power-up. I don't know how I feel about that too, because one of the things I like about the show is, instead of like Superman or any other superhero that you see that gets their powers either because they're an alien or they get injected with something or they're a mutant, the whole reason why these characters are powerful is because they train hard as they can, and they really like work hard to become more powerful, stronger, and they have to earn these things, and I love that.
Batman, they have to
Absolutely.
earn that. Yeah.
Just like Batman. So Batman is the caveat on there. And yeah, great example, Matt. So that's what I absolutely like. So whenever they they wish for more power like this, I can't remember if this has ever happened with one of the main characters, at least with one of the protagonists. But they did use that. I kind of feel like that is lazy storytelling a little bit. Sorry. Just my opinion. We all can have them, and it's okay to not like things about it. I absolutely love this film. I just have my little nitpicks here and there. Finally, like the main villain at the end was very overpowered and big, and it just seemed like the power levels that these characters had in this movie weren't earned as much as in the series. Now, with these Dragon Ball shows, with these Dragon Ball movies that they come out with, a lot of the times they do adapt them to the show. So we saw that with Resurrection F and the God storyline with Dragon Ball Superhero. They develop that into the show. Sometimes they actually redo the animation and change it around a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if they do develop this movie into the show that we are supposedly getting in the future, and what they might change with it, because it's almost like a different continuity too, versus the show, versus the movies, versus the manga. All three of those aren't exact continuities. They take pieces out of every one of them, but a lot of the times they're not just one meshed thing. So if you're watching the anime show and you're reading the manga, you might be a little confused about different things that happen in different orders and whatnot. Just know that those continuities, like the Japanese really don't care that much about canon, so it's more of the story and just having fun with it and reading it as well. So go along for the ride, woo, if you can, and enjoy your time. So to sum up
that looked like a reference to
that was the roller coaster.
Okay.
I wasn't trying for Office Space. Didn't have my Office on there. For all those family and friends out there, there's a movie called Office Space that you should probably check out and see. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I have a huge thing of coffee that I brought up because I don't like cold coffee, so I went ahead and just brought up the whole pot. And I'll probably drink
got
the
a
whole
little
pot
burner
while I'm
over there too.
Yeah, I should
a little stove.
I should just put the whole coffee machine up here. I have room, so I could probably do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So overall, I absolutely enjoyed it. I love the story. Seeing the Red Ribbon Army, seeing things that were brought back even from Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball, were really cool. There was one scene where one of the characters asked Piccolo, like, "Hey, why don't you just grow large?" And he's like, and then they flash back to when he did that in the 23rd tournament, at the end of Dragon Ball. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I could do that." And then he grows large. and that was that was awesome. So that was a little bit of a hint, like the movie digging on some of the inconsistencies with the whole series, because sometimes this does happen. Akira Toriyama is notorious for getting things and everything, so it's kind of like a, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. I forgot I wrote that character could do that. And I was like, so when he did that, I was like, yes, finally. You know, there's been so many times in the show where Piccolo could have grown huge and it would have solved a lot of things. So it was funny that, you know, the show was humble enough to make fun of itself in that kind of way. I love that kind of stuff. They were ragging on Krillin the whole time. He's one of the main characters that's a human and everything. He doesn't have a nose either, and they make fun of him for that all the time as well. But he used to be pretty prominent in the series, and now he's kind of like to the side, and they're like, we brought all the most powerful people here, and Krillin. And he's like, hey, you know. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah. You know, there's action, there's comedy, and the kids really enjoyed it. I had a blast. So did the kids. So I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10 for myself, A+ for me, 10 out of 10 for my daughter, and 100 out of 10 for my son. So we all definitely did enjoy this show. I definitely think you should go out and check it out. If you do like animation, this is definitely for you. If you want to introduce your kids to Dragon Ball, this is a great way to get them in there. Getting them into Dragon Ball Super, I found, is the best way. Like, my son really likes the original Dragon Ball, but there are some things in there that are a little bit complicated that you either have to fast forward through, or, you know, make sure that they don't see, or talk to them about it and be like, oh, this is just crazy. But for the most part,
what kind of stuff are you talking about? Like violence or language or sex or something, or what?
Not really, not language, at least for the shows and everything like that. Some of the older movies, yes, there's some language in there that is inappropriate for children as well. But just some, you know, some interesting situation. It's really hard to describe, like, you know, Japanese have a very interesting sense of humor, and over the last 20, 30 years, culture has changed quite a bit. And so it's a lot more muted. It's a lot more PC friendly nowadays, especially with Dragon Ball Super. And that's why I would suggest any of you parents out there, if you want to introduce them to Dragon Ball, start at Dragon Ball Super. That's a good place to start off, and really good. I would wait till they're a little bit older too. Not when they're, you know, in diapers or whatnot, but wait a little bit of time.
Yeah. Dragon Ball is not a show if you're in diapers. So that, you heard it here first.
So when I'm elderly in diapers, I'm going to cut myself off from watching Dragon Ball. I'm almost there.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So
Joe's not free.
That's right. So. That's right. But I like to suggest starting them off with Super if you're going to start them anywhere. And from there, you can kind of go through the backstory with them. Gotta tell them what these characters are about as well. That's what I've been able to do. So it was amazing, because after the movie, Olivia had a lot of questions and everything, and so did my son. Excuse me, I'm choking on my coffee. And the last movie was called Dragon Ball Super Brawly, and Brawly was in this movie, and they're like, who's Brawly? Because they never saw him in the show. So I was like, oh, well, he was in the last movie, and the last movie takes place after the Tournament of Power 2, right after. So I was like, oh, well, we should watch that movie. So we watched that yesterday, and so they got a little bit more backstory on who Brawly was and everything else, and they were up to speed. And I was like, remember, that was that character from the movie we saw on Friday, and like, this was that character, and like, oh yeah. And then we had my daughter had a friend over. We had a sleepover this weekend, so she got to watch it with us. And Olivia was like sitting there. I was so proud of her. She was explaining every single one of the characters, and she was right on the money. Like, oh, that's Piccolo. He comes from Namek, and this is that, and that. And it's like, oh, this is Goku. Yeah, he's called Kakarot, and what Kakarot means in Japanese is carrot. And so Vegeta's vegetable, you know. And so it's just a play on fun stuff. And they picked up on that. Gohan is rice dish. So, you know, it's a lot of fun. They love those little facts and everything. So I was really proud of her. She was able to explain it to her friend.
For a person coming like from my angle, you know, maybe I'm interested. You talk about your kids really enjoying it, all this sort of thing. Two-part question. Mm-hmm. Where would I myself start, or a person like me that has no knowledge or background information on Dragon Ball Z, other than like you and I talked about
Hmm.
off the air. I've seen thousands of pictures of Grogu just mad and
Grogu,
screaming at something in a yeah. What
Baby
yeah,
Yoda.
not right. Goku, sorry about that.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Base level knowledge, I don't have any of it when it comes to Dragon Ball. So where in this vast amount of content do I start?
Yeah, that's a great question. That first question is amazing. And I would say, as an adult, if you're going to start anywhere, I would start at Dragon Ball Z. That gives you a good launching spot for what the show is. And after you've watched Dragon Ball Z, go back to Dragon Ball. It's a lot more kid oriented, a lot more episodic when it comes to that. But I've gone back and watched that after the fact. We all start, and a lot of the people my age who grew up with this show, watching it on Toonami, the only thing that we were able to see right at first was the first two seasons of Dragon Ball Z. That's where we were introduced to the characters and we came about this, and that's where we fell in love with it. And so I would suggest everybody, if you're going to start somewhere, if you want to get into this show, start at Dragon Ball Z, watch that show, and after that go back to Dragon Ball, because that's what they did in it as well. Like, they went back and remastered Dragon Ball, and the voice actors came back and did all of Dragon Ball. And that show is, it's kind of like Star Wars if you think about it. Like, we watched the original trilogy and then we went back and saw the prequels. Kind of the same thing. Is like, you'll be able to do that with this show as well. So good jumping off points, Dragon Ball Z, and then watch Dragon Ball. You can skip Dragon Ball GT. I think it's going to be overwritten. That's another show that came out after Dragon Ball Z, and it wasn't
Yeah.
based on the mangas. It was Akira Toriyama wasn't involved in it, and Dragon Ball Super is kind of rewriting that, and they kind of think that is no longer a part of the canon as well, if there is a canon. So, second
Yeah.
question, what is it?
Well, so you kind of alluded to the fact that your kids were enjoying different movies. And so it was, how do I get my kids into this? If I start with Dragon Ball Z and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Do I start them there as well, or do I start with a movie? How do I introduce them to this world?
Yeah, and I kind of did allude to this already. So I would start them off at Dragon Ball Super. That's a great launching part
Yeah.
for them. The kids seem to get really interested in that. At least for us as an older audience, we are accustomed to watching film and shows and things like that, and we have the patience. But I'm finding like the younger audiences don't have as much patience. I would say. I mean, maybe they will as we get them older and we get them have them watch all these other shows and movies that we've grown up on, but a lot of the times they don't have the patience for the slower plots and everything like that. So I would definitely start out with Super. I mean, that was the intent, and that's the intent of having another show like this, is to get a new audience, to introduce a younger audience to these characters and to get them
Yeah.
going. And it's nice too, because like when you're going through it, and if you've watched Dragon Ball Z and the previous content, they'll ask questions. You're able to answer them for them, so it's kind of an interactive experience for the both of you. So I would start the kids off with Dragon Ball Super.
I also think it's very individualistic. Like, I was really into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles whenever I
Teenage
was a kid.
Mutant
You know,
Ninja Turtles,
we
Teenage
tried
Mutant Ninja
half
Turtles,
a dozen iterations of that,
Heroes in a Half
and
Shell, Turtle Power.
kids just, they're not
Yeah,
they're not into it.
right?
And it's a very simple storyline. Like, there's not a ton of mythology that you have to understand right off the bat, but they're just not into it.
Yeah,
I've got one kid that is very much into baseball, and another that likes to watch live soccer. I've got another that really is into the X-Men cartoon. And so it's kind of like, well, you pick up what, and of course they
yeah,
they like a lot of the modern cartoons and movies and stuff that are coming out built for their age group right now as well. So I don't know. It just kind of seems like, try it
yeah.
and throw it out on the stoop, see if the cat licks it up, you know?
Exactly. Like, I have the same situation too. It was like, I want my kids to be like Star Wars, but and Olivia likes it a little bit. My
Mm-hmm.
son doesn't. So yeah, every kid's gonna have their own taste and preference and everything. But if you want to introduce it to them and they like it, continue watching this stuff. I'm definitely one of those people that doesn't want to force anything on my kids. It's like if they like it, great. I will continue to show them stuff. Jay, my son's really into Pokemon, so I've dived into that. I learned how to play the Pokemon game. I never was into Pokemon as a kid. But since he likes it, we get into it, and I will encourage him in his fandom and what he enjoys as well. Same thing with my daughter. She likes a lot of animation, and like within the last couple of years, she's really gotten into anime. So she's full on board with that. With Naruto, My Hero Academia. I think I mentioned that before. I think there's like another show called like Spy Family or something like that she's into as well. So she's very much into this stuff, and she very much was into Dragon Ball too. So she likes it as well. She's very much into animation. She wants to draw animation, so it's definitely an influence for her to strive to draw better and everything. She does animation characters when she draws as well, and colors and paints. So yeah, it's all good stuff.
Yeah. Well, and we're about halfway through here, so we've
Yep.
still got two shows to go over.
Yeah.
So, speaking of kids and what they'll love, The Sandman is not that.
Yeah. So let's go into The Sandman from the Netflix show The Sandman. So let's go on over to that. All right, let's
Yep.
get that off and then put that bad boy on there. Get a nice little graphic for The Sandman. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about The Sandman. I have to admit, there's 13 episodes of this, and I have only watched the first 2 episodes. It's been a busy week, and I've been trying my best to watch it. So I'm going to have you take the lead on this, Matt. So go ahead.
Yep.
And get started with this, Mr. Matt Pop.
Yeah, so I've watched the 10 episodes that were originally dropped as a series, and since then they've produced. I thought it was just one more, but I guess there's a couple secret episodes, they're calling them. So Netflix has done this a couple of times, and it's really interesting because as we sort of, I mean, they weren't secret, but with the last season of Stranger Things, we've got pretty much 3/4 of the 4th season that all premiered at the same time. And then it was, a month and a half later that they gave us the last 2 episodes. And they weren't doing that for marketing purposes. Well, from what they stated in interviews, and same thing with the Duffer Brothers, they said, no, we just needed more time to make this as perfect as we could.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe they've done the same thing with these secret episodes of The Sandman, just to give us additional content, because this is based on a comic that ran 75 issues from 1989 to 1996. So a vast universe to explore here. It's part of the overall DC comic universe as well, and that in the comics, the Sandman interacts with different DC superheroes and villains. Yep. There's actually a lot of interaction that occurs with one of the Batman villains, Dr. Destiny, and then Justice League. So I won't get into all of that, but there was a ton of stuff to draw from whenever it came to making this TV series. So what's interesting is that when I heard they were coming out with this, this was the first time that I'd really had a comic story that I was aware of and had read before seeing the movie or the TV show based on it. I actually read these things probably 20 years ago, not during the 90s, but in the 2000s, just out of my own interest. And then I had a re-exposure to them whenever Audible came out with the audio series with James McAvoy playing Dream or Morpheus, the main Sandman character of this series. And that was great. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, you're a fan of the comics, then you're definitely going to want to take a listen to the audio series. I think they've got 2 seasons now that you can enjoy. And so I was thinking about all that stuff, and I'm like, gosh, whenever I first read this, I mean, it was
Hmm.
huge. Kind of like what I was talking about with Heat 2. How are they going to make this thing into a comprehensible TV story? Even with as many episodes as Netflix, wants to produce on this stuff, there's still just a ton to actually make. And I'll say that this is definitely a Neil Gaiman story. So if you think from reading his other books or hearing about his other books that his stories are weird or off-putting or just not your particular flavor of vodka, then this won't be either.
Yeah, it
You
won't.
know, this is definitely one of his iconic
Yeah.
works and has a lot of Neil Gaiman built into all of this stuff. You've got the religious iconography, the mythological characters, the historical figures, all intertwined in the same universe. And it's weird. I mean, I'll just say it. I love it because it's
Hmm.
weird. But if you don't, that means that you should not watch this show because it's not going to be for you. So that was my main qualm with the overall series is that it pays such close attention to a lot of the details from the comics and gets so much right from the original story that if you are not aware of the original story, I would find this to be a little bit
Yeah,
inaccessible.
to the
There's a
detriment.
lot
Yeah.
of yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens that if you don't have context from the original stuff, you're probably going to be a little bit lost or just like, whoa, that was out of the blue or what's going on here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now being a fan of the original work, I love this show. I think that they picked the perfect actor to portray the main character. Like I said, his name is Dream or Morpheus and has a half a dozen other names in the original. But he's played by Tom Sturridge, and his voice, the look of him, which goes to a lot of the makeup department and the character design, they just perfectly mimic to me the drawings that are in the original comics. It's
Hmm.
faithful to that material quite a bit, and not just with his character, but with a lot of them. Now, I'll pause for a moment here because Chris, you said you watched the first two
Hmm.
episodes, and those definitely set up one of the main storylines that is prominent throughout the rest of the show, at least the first season. So, what have you thought so far from what you've seen?
I think it's spot on to what you said. Like if you haven't read this material, if you aren't introduced to this story beforehand, you are going to be extremely lost. That first episode, I was just sitting there just trying to put this all together, and it's a lot. It really is a lot, especially for somebody going in that has no knowledge of this character whatsoever. I love Neil Gaiman. I've read a lot of the books, but I haven't been introduced to the Sandman. So seeing it, it was
Yeah.
very hard for me to get into this one, and it's a
Hmm.
little, I gotta say, I'm just gonna say it, like seeing a naked man for almost the entirety of the first episode was like, okay, guys,
Yeah.
let's get this guy clothed if we can. I was a little out of. Just like okay, and like some of the motivations of like the characters was like this guy isn't death. Let him go. Why aren't you letting him go? He's not going to get you what you want. So that really pissed me off. Like the character motivations were a little hard to realize. Even the
Yeah.
son who you thought was going to be sympathetic to the Sandman, and
Hmm.
he ended up not being and just keeping him in there too. It's like really like what.
Yeah.
But I did very much enjoy the time lapse and everything, seeing that whole dynamic come out. Seeing the Raven get killed in the first episode too, that was just like, oh man, come on! It's like by the kid. That was shocking too, by the way. And then you get into I think it was like he was a gargoyle, right? The gargoyle that when he goes back to the dream world and everything, and he has to sacrifice the gargoyles. Like as a novice into this, as a new viewer and everything, seeing this sweet little gargoyle get destroyed by this character who is kind of muted.
Or Gregory.
Yeah, Gregory,
Yep.
exactly. Seeing in in no real emotion or anything, like I've had to do this to do, and you don't understand at this point why this is happening. And I'm going to continue to watch the series to see how it plays out and whatnot. But
So
it's
prepare yourself for even more off-putting content.
oh great,
I'll
oh
say
great. So
you've experienced the lightest
uplifting.
so far.
Yeah. And
Wait
I
till
watch a
the
lot of shows to kind of, get away from,
yeah.
the everyday monotony of life. So watching this show is a little bit more cumbersome, at least for me. It's like, oof, it's not a feel good like Superman and Lois is for me. That show lifted me up. Sandman is like testing my limits of, of what I can enjoy. But the imagery, the shots and everything are beautifully done. It is definitely Neil Gaiman show in the way that they portray these characters, and the way it's shot is very beautifully done.
Well, and so that's exactly what I wanted to call out because Netflix has thrown a ton of money at this show, and it
You can
is
tell.
very apparent, yeah, in the art direction and the
Yeah.
visual and special effects. I mean, it is cinema quality. You could watch this on the big screen and it
Hmm.
would totally work. I mean, the
Yep.
level of detail to the effects is amazing. So I wanted to call out the art directors for one. The supervising art director, Nikki McCollum, like I said, was a supervisor. And I
Oh.
started trying to think, okay, I'll look into Nikki McCollum's background, and then I started getting further into all the different episodes and who was in charge of those. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take a moment to give credit where credit's due. So I'm gonna name every single one of them here. Okay, so Nikki McCollum, Lydia Farrell, Sandra Phillips, Luke Whitlock, Patricia Johnson, Danny Rogers, and Kevin Timon Hill were all art directors on each of these episodes, some on multiple episodes, some on all 10. And on top of that, there's over 200 visual and special effects artists that worked on this. And again, it comes off as a 10 episode film that you could watch in any movie theater in the country. And so I give so much credit to the success of this show to
Hmm.
the visual effects because they are not distracting in any way. We've seen some TV shows where the special effects are not as high quality as what you're used to in the theater, and you just kind of you have to roll with it. You give it the grace of a TV show budget, but that is not what's going on here, and they make the show beautiful. The dreamscapes, the ravens moving in and out of the different realms, and amazing.
Hmm.
So, but like Chris said, this is a story of the macabre. It's a it's a challenge to traditional storytelling with a lot of gothic influences and a lot of philosophical layers to it. I'll
Very
say
much.
that when you read the comics, when you watch this show, they didn't leave out those strange story beats that in the comics gives a philosophical tone to what you're seeing. As you get further into this, there will be vast spans of time, hundreds of years go by for some of the characters, and it's meant to play around
Yeah.
with traditional storytelling, cliches and things like that. The quest that starts the whole thing off gets resolved, and then there's more story to tell. And they deal a lot with the responsibility that characters have in the face of consequences that they didn't necessarily produce. They deal a lot with the nature of truth and lies in humans. And at the end of it, and laced throughout it, I think the main point, at least for me as an audience member, was that Neil Gaiman is able to draw out some hopefulness in the midst of this incredibly dark story
Hmm.
through the creativity that people have in their dreams. And so I won't spoil anything for you, Chris, if you do continue.
Yeah.
But I think they lace a lot of that stuff in there that is very true to the original comics. And to the credit of the showrunners, they hit the nail on the head. Now, they couldn't do everything. So there is some stuff that is combined, there is some stuff that's left out. There's just too much material to throw it all in there.
Right.
But I don't think that they shied away from some of the harsher things in the original story that made that comic book series an award-winning story, and it's dropped in here. Not only that, but the next season will most likely cover um, what remains of the characters that are still there at the end of this one. I kind of again, don't want to give anything away, and I haven't seen the secret episodes yet, but my guess is that they're going to button up what the last bit of comics did throughout the end of the or middle of the 90s there with season two, and that'll probably be all we get of the Sandman. Because after that, it would be doing a disservice to the story to go any further with it, I think. So as long as they just keep doing what they're doing, the fans of the original story, I think, will be happy.
Okay.
So rating wise, I would say that because they're being loyal to the source material, I personally love that. I've seen a lot of great stories out there that use the source material as a jumping off point. They do it great. A lot of stuff out there that did not do so great in jumping off from the original story, but here because it's so nuanced and weird, I think they did the right thing and just adhered to what Neil Gaiman had set out to make in the 90s. And so I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Dang.
I think, yeah, I think that because it's only accessible to the fans like myself, that it's not going to get that full 10 out of 10. So,
Okay.
but of the two episodes you've seen, Chris, you probably have a lower rating because you don't have any prior knowledge.
Right. Whew.
What's your grade for the episodes?
So hard to even rate it when I haven't seen all the episodes yet.
Sure, yeah.
You know, because usually for me it takes at least 2 or 3 episodes to get into a show, anyways, and then I can go back and look at it. But for the time being, if I was to rate the first episode on itself, I'd probably say it's a 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
Second one's probably around a 7 out of 10 if I was going
Yeah.
to rate it. But again, that would probably change if I read the comic books, if I watched the entire season. And this is what's so hard about Netflix, and I kind of don't like this when it comes to Netflix and how we are consuming media now, is they drop all this stuff off at one time. So Matt had told me that The Sandman came out, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know. For one, I wasn't even up to date with that, and that the fact that they dropped all the episodes as well, and these are all like an hour long and long content. So I very much like what they're doing on Disney and other avenues where they drop one episode per week. That way you get to just sit there and enjoy that episode, and you look forward to something the next week. When they drop off the entire show in one sitting like this, it's really hard because you get it all at one time, you see all of it, and then you're waiting a long time before the next season comes out as well. So it's not I would much rather have the viewing experience of having it on a weekly basis, like She-Hulk, like all the other shows that we have. I think it would serve the show a lot better if they did that. I wish Netflix would do that, but they like to drop them off so you can binge them. So
Yeah. Well, and I will say that when you get to the end of episode 10, that there won't be a whole lot of question that you have about the storylines that are being opened up at the beginning of the show. Like it puts a nice little ribbon on all of those, which it does in the comics too. The second season's very much just a new story.
Got it.
Um,
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you think at the end, but I mean, it's just going to get weirder. So I think your
Going
rating
along
might,
for the ride. Woo!
yeah,
Woo!
we'll see.
Whoa! So, yeah.
But
So, High praise for Matt. And so, who would you recommend this show to if you were to recommend it?
Fans of the original content.
Mm-hmm.
If you liked some of Neil Gaiman's other works,
Oh yeah.
like American Gods, and you think, I'll probably like this too, you may, but I would say, yeah, just people that have enjoyed the original story will probably like this. That's who I'd recommend to.
Yeah.
Definitely not for kids. There's a lot of dark themes in here.
Yeah. Don't.
There's there's violence, there's sex. It's all in there. So yeah, not for your kids.
Not at all. And that's the other hard thing, especially as a parent as well, is like finding the time to get to watch a show like this. It can
Mhm.
be difficult too. It's like if you have your kids around, you cannot have a show like that on. Make sure the kids
Yeah.
are in bed and they're fast asleep before you watch a show like this. And that's one of the reasons
Mm.
why I was only able to watch the first 2 episodes of this, is because I have my kids, and I'm
Yeah.
definitely not going to watch a show like The Sandman with them around. So, yep, take that as you will.
Probably not going to watch our next film either, our Silver Screen Sunday review,
All right, it
Shaun of
is
the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Let's get the picture up there. Oh, there's Shaun of the Dead. Bam, bam. All right, let's go into that.
Bam, bam.
Bam, bam. Bam, bam. That's our little cut into the next one. All right,
Yep.
so Shaun of the Dead, classic movie.
Yeah. Before we get into it, though, I want to hear where on your favorite films, or and maybe it's not even one of those, but where does it rank for you
Oh, yeah.
as one of the movies that you have enjoyed in the past? It's nostalgic. Top 10, top 20, 50.
I would say, well, for me, like even with what do they call the universe? The
Oh, the
Carletto.
Cornetto trilogy, the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy.
Yes, Cornetto trilogy. Out of the Cornetto trilogy, I would say this is my second favorite. Like the number one for me is always going to be Hot Fuzz. Like so that one definitely. That's in my top 10 movies. I
So,
absolutely love Hot Fuzz.
for those of you that don't know what Chris is referring to here, Edgar Wright and Sean Penn created three movies that they deemed the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, simply because in all three movies, the main characters eat the Cornetto ice cream
Yeah.
at some point during the film, which, if you don't recognize the brand, it's everybody's had them. It's those little waffle cone things that you get in the red, blue, or green wrapper. And so each of the films, Shaun of the Dead being first, Hot Fuzz being the second, and The World's End being the third,
Hmm.
have a different Cornetto ice cream being eaten by the main characters.
Yeah.
In Shaun of the Dead, it's a strawberry one representing blood for the zombies and all that. In Hot Fuzz, it's a vanilla flavored one with a blue wrapper representing the police force. That Hot Fuzz is very much that's the main characters. They're part of the police. And then the World's End is the green wrapper for the mint chip flavor, and that's because that movie has a sci-fi theme with aliens in it. So that's a brief explanation of why these things are called a trilogy. Other than that, there's no tie-in as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. So I would say top 20, maybe. So it's in there.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. Definitely top 10 for me. And as we
There's red
go
on your
through
shirt.
these, what's that?
There's red on your shirt.
Oh yeah, red. There's red on you. Yeah. No, whenever I watched this a couple of weeks ago, I thought, oh my gosh, we have got to talk about this on the podcast because this movie's so well done. I love every time I watch this film, there's something else to catch. And so for me, my top 10, top 20 films of all time are based largely on rewatchability.
Oh yeah.
And I think that that Shaun of the Dead has a ton of it. In what I also love is that you can tell the passion of the filmmakers. So this movie was directed by Edgar Wright and written by him and Simon Pegg. They've been friends for a long, long time. They used to be flatmates, as they call them in Britain. roommates, as they call them over here. And they based a lot of the dynamics of the two main characters, Shaun and Ed, on their own friendship whenever they were roommates. So um, it's pretty incredible how you can take a personal story, throw it into this goofy zombie homage, which is very much part of their their passion for George Romero and his zombie universe films and all of those.
Hmm.
And there's so much uh, hat, tip of the hat, homage, nuance, all that stuff. The details in this film are incredible, and that's why every time I watch it, I see something new. Like, look at that. That's just one more layer to why I love this movie so much. So,
Yeah, and I think they, seeing a film where they just get to follow their passion and do whatever they want to. This is definitely one of
yeah,
those where they
yeah,
like no studio is telling them what to do. They get to make the
mm,
goofiest, funnest little subcategory movie that you possibly can. This is why one of the reasons why I think Edgar Wright couldn't work with the Marvel Studios is because he needs to have full reign on his
yeah.
productions and everything. And God, I wish I could have
And
seen his version of Ant-Man. That would have been so cool. But
yeah, yeah, it really would. I mean, he's a guy that is dedicated to his craft.
yeah.
When he was making this film, like he literally took no other directing jobs until he could get this movie done,
Hmm.
which I mean, it might sound like, oh, well, who cares? He's getting paid, tons of money for this movie. That's not always how it goes as a
No.
director, especially when you're younger into the industry. You don't have a lot of credit to your name yet. Like getting these movies done is your payday for a long time.
Yeah.
So he actually started to go into debt. He had to borrow money from his friends, including Simon Pegg, just to stay solvent in his personal life, just to have money to live on
Yeah.
as he's trying to get this movie made. So, with that amount of dedication and the amount of attention to detail that they put in this script, it's no wonder that it's a cult classic and loved by so many zombie movie fans, and just fans of cinema alike.
Yeah, and like you said, Matt, rewatchability, like that is a big thing for me too. So this is definitely one you can watch over and over again. Same thing with Hot Fuzz. Like I would like the
Yeah,
one that I prefer for more. But yeah, it's definitely one that you can pick up and see again and find something new. I absolutely love movies like that where you could see it a second time and there's definitely lots more to pick up in the
yeah,
next viewing or the next viewing, and sometimes it's just a feel good too, like, and there's a lot of things in this movie that just are fun and make you feel good. Even though it's a zombie film, though, it's hilarious too. So let's just have a pint
yeah.
and
Oh,
wait for this to all blow over. So
well, and what I love about Edgar Wright, he does in so many of his movies, from Scott Pilgrim, Baby
oh
Driver,
jeez,
whatever,
yeah.
his cinematography and how he storylines these movies is so on point. It's part of the comedy. I don't know how many times in the Cornetto trilogy here, there's those quick cuts where literally Simon Pegg's character in any of the movies is like relaxing, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's daylight, and then it's the next day. And like I personally have had so many of those moments where I don't get the relief of sleep. It's like I just settled down to relax,
It's like
and I might have slept for 8 hours, but suddenly it's daylight, and you're back off to the grind. So the
yeah.
fact that he does that kind of stuff with his cinematographer David M. Dunlap in Shaun of the Dead here, is just a credit to the collaborative process that goes into making a movie that's so finely tuned like this one. So kudos to both of those guys for making comedy out of cinematography. You don't see that a ton.
Right.
All the quick cuts, the side cuts, all of that stuff that's kind of classic to 80s and 90s action
Yeah.
movies is layered in there. It's just amazing to watch.
So Matt, who do you think that would find some enjoyment if they haven't seen any of these movies? Who do you think would very much enjoy Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah. Well, so it's a standalone by itself. You don't have to
Hmm.
watch Hot Fuzz of the World's
No,
End
you
to
don't.
get complete enjoyment out of this movie.
Hmm.
But definitely any zombie movie fans, if you liked Zombieland, it's another
True.
one that's a comedy zombie movie. You're
Hmm.
gonna love Shaun of the Dead. If you like anything that Simon Pegg's been in, you're gonna love this movie because it's just got a ton of his type of humor in there as well.
Right.
Um, I would say that the one thing that is not at all, and I'll say this, I want to sound like an American audience member here. It's
But
not a flaw to the movie at all, but the British accents, of course, for me as an American not exposed to this daily, can be sometimes difficult to understand, and some of the humor can be lost in that. Now, I don't know what say a Norwegian audience member would, if they'd have the same problem with the British accents as me, or a
okay.
French audience. But as an American audience member, that can be maybe a tiny issue. Is if you don't like British movies, then I would say that this could be off-putting. To me, it was a distraction for like all of 5 seconds, and then you just start understanding the accent very well. You start getting into the humor. Oh, I
My
don't
phone.
know what that was. Um, but so that would be the only thing that I would say if you're not a fan of British accents, then then you will not enjoy this film. But other than that, um,
I want to find
I
that
mean,
guy. I just hate British
I know
accents,
people
man.
because
It's the worst.
I've talked about this movie to several of my friends, and I know one of them watched it, didn't like the British accent at all, so it was
Hmm.
not for him. And I'm just like, well,
Oh, okay.
I can't fault you for that. I mean, if that's that's the type of thing that you do not enjoy, then I'm not going to recommend any of the other
Lots
movies
of
for you.
other
So
films. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I personally don't find it off-putting or anything like that, or hard to. But I've watched lots of things from England, from other countries. I've watched lots of subtitled things, and there are different cultures have different things that are humorous as well that we might not find humorous in America as well. So yeah, I could definitely see some people maybe having an issue with that and whatnot. Well, another thing, this is what I love about film in general is growing beyond my point of view and where I'm at and my bias and everything else. We kind of talked about this last time too. Things that challenge my bias and challenge my worldview. I absolutely enjoy. I love going out of a movie with a different perspective and things like that. So if you do have an issue with those types of things, maybe it would be a good thing for you to expose yourself to different stuff like this and grow beyond your point of view as well. So never hurts to challenge yourself. So give it a try. You just might find after a while you might enjoy it, and you might find other things enjoyable too. So just my 2 cents.
yeah. All the classic zombie movie tropes are in
Hmm.
here, though. So if you don't like headshots, a lot of
Yeah,
gore, um,
that's true.
this movie isn't going to be for you.
And
So,
definitely, again, not one that you're gonna want to have with your family and and watch with your little kids as well.
oh, I mean, this could be a great opportunity to sit your
Yeah,
kids down and explain human anatomy to them
there
as
you
they're
go.
able to see it in all its glory taken
That's right.
apart.
So might be
So,
educational.
David, if you're out there watching this show, you're wasting your time for one, but you're a successful actor. What are you doing on a Sunday
Yeah,
morning? But no, thank you for being part of that spectacular makeup effect and having your intestines exposed to the world.
there you
It
go.
was very
Very brave.
brave.
I
But
did that once in a film called Sleep No More. It was a lot of fun. So
that's
yeah,
right.
remember that?
Made our own gory
We did
movie
back in the day.
that lasted about 10
Yeah,
minutes. And then we made a making of that lasted even
yeah.
longer.
It
So,
was definitely a lot of fun. Yeah, so our first little movie
yeah.
was a scary movie called Sleep No More, and I think we made the intestines out of like paper towels and ketchup. I think is what.
Yeah, a little bit of
Yeah.
barbecue sauce to darken it
And
up.
it was awesome too because when we were doing the shot, it like moved because of just gravity and whatnot, and so the intestine kind of moved across the screen. Absolutely love that.
It was so. I mean, we can't fault Sandman for having, scenes and stuff out of the
Right.
blue because that definitely came out of nowhere in our own film. Just, oh,
Ah.
there, and Chris is eviscerated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of fun. So if you guys don't know that about us, we made little cheesy little movies when we were in high school and whatnot, to the chagrin of pretty much everybody in our family. But it was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
very much enjoyed it. Definitely, we had a lot of setbacks with filming and and trying to get things to work and
Yeah. And I'll
editing.
say, if you're out there, Donna,
Yeah,
Chris's mom, thank you for all the hours that I'm sure we kept
yeah,
you up in the middle of the night filming things in the living
right.
room or kitchen or wherever we wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so sorry to
So,
Service Masters because Matt, I think he got fired for using their camera on that.
oh, yeah. Yeah, I probably shouldn't be talking about that
So
on the air, but
yeah, I think it's been long enough to where you're probably okay.
yeah,
They're gonna come out.
statute of
Yeah.
limitations
Unless
is,
you're all the way down in Colorado, they'd have to extradite you up to Idaho and whatnot.
that
So,
that the word for it. We got a legal buddy, so we'll
yeah,
ask him.
right. We'll see how much trouble we get you in with fatherly fandom here. But
Yeah.
lots of fun. So we should be wrapping it up now. So let's Dragon Ball Super definitely was an awesome movie. Please go out and see it. You can see that with your kids, and I absolutely recommend it. I really do want to go see it again in the movie theater if I can, once again. So I definitely recommend that. The Sandman, if you are a fan of Neil Gaiman, if you are a fan of those comics, definitely check it out. It's worth your time. And for Shaun of the Dead, we definitely recommend that if you're into zombie films or if you're into Edgar Wright, Sean Penn. Not Sean Penn. What am I? Sean Penn.
Simon Pegg.
Pegg. What?
Yeah.
See, this is why it's time to go.
Sean Penn did not make an appearance, but hopefully he appreciated the movie as
Yeah.
well.
I wonder if he's seen it. Maybe he's seen it in his time. So we definitely recommend those things this week. And is there anything that you were excited to see in the next week, Matt?
Well, I'm going to be checking out more episodes of Light and Magic.
Yeah.
I've heard a rumor that Thor: Love and Thunder could be premiering on Disney Plus as early as this Wednesday, so we'll see if that ends up being
Yeah.
true. But yeah, that's what I've got my
Cool.
focus on for now. And of course, any classic films, I'll let you know what it is that I'm
Yeah, and
watching.
if Thor Love and Thunder does come out this week on Disney Plus, we will review it on our Friday show, so we'll have that for you guys as well. We'll be watching She-Hulk as well. That comes out on Wednesday. Funny thing, I saw a story that the backstory on She-Hulk, the introduction to the character becoming She-Hulk, wasn't actually supposed to happen until episode 8 of the show, but they moved it around because they thought it would be better to get it out of the way first.
Sure.
So yeah,
Yeah,
wouldn't it have been a
yeah, that seems like a choice.
yeah?
But
So I'm trying to figure out like, well, what was the first episode supposed to be like? So what I was saying last time about it being like a episode 0 is kind of true to form. It's kind of like they took that and got that as the introduction. So now we're going to be moving on to the actual story. So what we're going to see in this next episode was probably what they were going to have for episode 1 here. So very interesting stuff. So we'll review that and see where it's at and see if we enjoy it as well. So I'll be having cinnamon rolls, watching it in the mornings on Thursdays, and then we'll talk about it on Friday. All right.
all right.
Well, everybody, if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, like this video, set up some notifications and whatnot, and spread the word. You know, the more people we get subscribed, the better we do. So make sure that you do that on YouTube, and we'll catch you again on Friday. Friday will be here, talking at you, giving you the gab, as it was. And from our family to yours, see you next time.